So as you lie on your back with your knees bent, draw your right knee in toward your chest and just pause here for a moment. Receive a nice in-breath and out-breath, and start to expand your breath so that you can feel how your ribs expand against the mat. Pause here. Keep your knee bent and lift your right foot up toward the sky, but keep the knee bent and take the hands with the interlaced fingers right behind the thigh, right in the belly of the hamstring, and keep on drawing the right leg toward your head by just giving just a little bit more strength here to the action. Maybe you can reach your right heel up toward the sky so that the leg is very active and the arms are very active. Now release your right foot down so that the knee's bent quite a bit, and take the right hand to the right knee. Draw your right knee over to the right side just to open up, but not too far. So we don't want the right hip to drop down too close to the earth. Just take the right knee over just slightly. Come back to the center position. Place your right foot on the mat and pause here. Maybe notice a slight difference here. As we pause, take your block in its lowest level, lift your pelvis up, and just park your pelvis, the sacrum, right on the block so that your low back feels free. Your low back feels just free to hang a little bit, just the weight of being all placed on the sacrum allows for a little bit more freedom in the lumbar spine. From here, lift both feet up toward the sky, and the knees can be bent here. Feet can be drawing not toward your face, but slightly away from the face. Just pause here with your feet elevated. And this pose, as you may recall, like legs at the wall, is just a wonderful way to have a nice restorative practice. So we won't be going against the wall, but if you've got one close by that you might want to use, then feel free to do that, of course. Lift your heels a little bit higher than your toes. And again, your knees can be slightly bent. And that just allows a little bit more ease in the lumbar spine, which we're going for today. To find that ease. Take 2 more breaths here with the feet elevated and lifted, with the toes spreading, so you've got a nice strong engagement of the legs. Bend your knees and park your feet down to the earth. Slide your block now away from the sacrum so that the sacrum now sits firmly on the mat. Draw your left leg in, just draw it in very easily as you keep your right foot planted. Pause here. And in time, take your left foot up. With the left knee bent, with your fingers interlaced behind your hamstring, just draw the knee a little bit deeper here, the leg a little bit deeper into the stretch here. So meanwhile, the right foot is very active. Just to keep the right hip point in a stationary position, you really have to press down through the right foot. Now take your left hand to the kneecap, left kneecap. Let the left knee just draw over to the left side while the right foot just works to maintain a pelvis that works to be aligned. So the right hip point is going to want to lift up. Your action is to power through the right foot so that you can keep the hip points as parallel as possible. Just draw the right knee over, not too far. The left knee. Keep your right foot planted. Draw your left knee wide. Come back to the center position. Lift your pelvis up. For some of you, the lower block is not much of a challenge. If you want to take it up just slightly to the higher elevation to the middle block, then by all means. But let's avoid going to the highest height today. Settle your sacrum on whatever height works nicely for you. With bent knees, we'll take your feet up and just keep the knees bent, but have your legs be very active. Spread your toes. Keep reaching up through the heels. With bent knees, just open the chest really nicely. Soften your facial muscles. And have this practice be for you, like this time of ease where you can just kind of rejuvenate. You can create this fresh start that this offers us. Celebrates the rebirth. Now you can slowly take your feet down to the earth. Once they're on the earth, lift your pelvis up off the block. And once again, just take the pelvis down and just pause here. Kind of notice after these actions, opening the hip very slowly, kind of in that yin yoga sort of format. Actually, in the yin yoga practice, they keep the poses for quite a bit longer. The average time is from 5 to 7 minutes in that practice. We only held it for about 3 minutes. So from here, roll over to one side and lift yourself up. I ask you to have a blanket or a towel at hand and roll that blanket or towel up into a very tight roll. And with that tight roll, we'll be lying over the blanket. So this is a wonderful way to rejuvenate the spine here. Have the sternum, that breastbone, right, to be the tallest part of your pose as you lie over the rolled blanket. So for me, taking my elbows right on the rolled blanket allows me to position myself so that I can find the bottom of my shoulder blades before taking my head back and taking my arms in this cactus pose or whatever pose is comfortable for you. Just lie back and have this very stationary pose allow you to just open the heart more fully. Let your breath facilitate this opening of the heart even more fully. So we went from focus on the low back, the sacral area, the lumbar area, where we were just allowing a little bit more freedom in that lumbar area by supporting the sacrum. to the upper back now, from the sacrum to the upper back. I like with the knees bent, the inner knees to touch and the feet nice and wide apart so that the psoas muscle relaxes very nicely. And I do realize that this is not exactly comfort because this takes the spine in the opposite way. We tend to be very kyphotic, meaning we have this really rounded upper back. And so this tends to take it to the opposite direction. And for most of us that sit at our desk a lot or drive or whatever, this is a part of the spine where you really tend to round it. The shoulders separate quite a bit. The heads of the arm bones come forward, not back, when we stand. So this pose helps us to bring our shoulder blades toward one another and take the heads of the arm bones back. This yin yoga practice, this practice to just stay in these poses, to do a nice opening. It takes time. You have to just kind of settle into it. If you feel like your rolled towel or rolled blanket is just a little bit too high, this feels too extreme, then you need to come down quite a bit. Just so that you can just give it a little bit time, a little bit more space. We'll take 5 very long and full breaths. Take your attention to that spot right behind the sternum, where again we tend to find ourselves rounding the most. It's working to give us a little bit more space in that area. 3 more breaths now. And 1 more. And as you're ready, to step your feet maybe hip distance apart, roll over to one side and slide your blanket or your towel away from you, just off to the side there. Come back to lie on your back. This time have your feet together, your knees bent. Take your arms in a T position, and with your inner knees touching, roll over to one side. Just roll the knees over. Let's all roll over to the left side. Just take your knees over so that as your knees roll over, take your hands together in this prayer pose. So roll your right hand to press on top of the left hand. Draw your right hand a little bit further than your left hand, so you're really reaching out. And now let the right hand slide in prayer position over the left hand before just opening out. Just open your arms out, keep your knees together, and open up into this twist. So if the right shoulder doesn't come down, just no worries here. Try to keep your right knee close to your left, and the right knee wants to lift, and if that happens, that's okay, but the position is really with the knees together. We'll do this 2 more times here. So take your hands in prayer position by reaching your right hand up and over to tap the left hand and reach the left hand further than, the right hand further than the left. And now slide the right hand over the left hand and open up again in this nice twisting action to open your heart really nicely. This rejuvenation that yoga allows us. Sometimes you just have to take a fresh start and go back to the basics. Go back to the earth. We're lying on the earth. We're just kind of discovering a little bit more about our body here in these supine positions. Inhale, take your right arm up, take it over, let it meet the left hand, slide it on the left hand as you reach your right hand really far out. And now slide it back on the left hand and open up again in this twist. Breathe and see if you can have more expansiveness in your left side through the breath. I know the left side feels very contracted here, but see how you can open up. Inhale, lift your knees up. And just pause here for a moment. Just notice the difference between your right side and your left side. With your knees together, take your knees over to the right side this time. Swing your left arm up and over to have the left hand meet the right hand. Slide the hands in prayer position so the left hand goes further than the right. And now slide it back to open up. Do a nice easy twist here. And notice the difference. This side might feel more spacious, more open. Do this 2 more times. Here, take your left arm up and over. Have it meet the right hand. Slide the left hand further. And now slide the left hand back and up and over into the twist. Use your breath to expand the right side ribs. Notice how you can find fullness on this side. Reach your left hand up and over to meet the right hand. Slide it on the right hand. And slide it back to open up really nicely. Inhale, lift your knees up and pause again. And as you pause, take your hands right to your kneecaps, and as if your sacrum is like a platter, you're just trying to reach all edges of that platter that your sacrum is, all edges in a circular motion. You're just moving in circles, rolling on that platter, rolling fully. Just by bringing your awareness to the sacral area, you will give just a little bit more freedom to the low back. Come to counterclockwise or whatever is for you the opposite way. Just move around on the platter. To rejuvenate, to feel like you're getting a fresh start, like new beginnings. You just have to explore. And that is what a yin yoga practice, these yoga practice where we just slow it down just a little bit to just allow us to create this felt sense that you can use your yoga practice for renewal, for rebirth. Place your feet on the floor and roll over to one side to come up to sitting pose. With gratitude, we honor this new beginning. Namaste. Thank you all.